Hello, and welcome to Perspectives, where we take a deep dive into the issues of the day and where we take a good look at people's opinion on such issues. I am Ruth Osime.
And I am Olatorera Oniru. On today's show, we will dig into domestic employment, the pros, the cons, and the risks to both employers and employees.
Welcome back to Perspectives here on Arise News. There are basic issues to consider before hiring or bringing someone into your home. It's a big decision as important as your life itself. As the individual is not only bringing help into the home, they are also exposed to everything that goes on within it. For a society going through varying degrees of economic pressure, the chances of maintaining a well-run home, catering to the needs of your spouse and children, and still perform optimally in the office with no assistance from house helps is a Herculean task, especially when the kids are young. The task of keeping a warm, cozy, comfortable, and happy home is considered the primary goal of most parents, and typically, Nigerians' middle-class families' response is always to resort to domestic helps. A great number of families can testify that good maids add to the growth and well-being of the children. On the other hand, becoming too reliable on a maid comes with its own risks, especially when the maid realizes she's heavily dependent on the home to run. There have been quite a number of take-through-hell-and-back stories. Events happening around reveal that many families, especially mothers, whether single or otherwise, have today lost their sleep, privacy, properties, and even more harrowing, their children to the sheer negligence or nonchalant attitude of maids. Familiarity, they also say, breeds contempt, as sometimes maids cross the line, even to the other room. Who's to blame for such atrocity between husband and wife, a husband and maid, remains an open debate. For women, keeping such staff would be like having a fire on one's roof and going to sleep. Truth is, lines need to be drawn and rules have to be put in place, no matter what it costs to do so. And if the worst comes to the worst, all staff must know they are dispensable as and when required, because no staff is what's shaking the foundation of a home to its roots.
Indeed. The absence of effective unions, policies, checks and balances make the domestic job sector a very risky one to both employers and employees. Here in Nigeria, where the poverty rate exceeds 70%, many citizens flock towards unprotected and unpredictable domestic jobs. Many employers, mostly of middle and elite class, powerful in wealth and authority, can be intimidating to financially desperate, educationally deprived, and mentally insecure domestic workers. They are domestic workers who excel at their jobs and become family members or move on to more significant jobs, and they are domestic workers who, mostly out of extreme poverty or lack of education, are out to steal, to destroy, and to covet another human's life. In many cases, the success stories have good, proactive employers, and the most evil cases have terrible, negligent employers. Either side may lack one of the most critical necessities of the job, humane love. There have been cases of child abuse, food poisoning, and other evil acts perpetrated by domestic helpers, some going to steal liquid assets, some going to steal a spouse, and some go in to steal a child. Let's not forget the group of domestic workers that have been reversely enslaved, raped, brutalized, inclusive of those who travel out in search of greener pastures and experience extreme racism. Where do we start in humanizing the sector? We need humane leaders, widespread education, functional industries, and many more jobs. We need happy citizens, less financial insecurity, less crimes, and a strong focus on greater Nigeria. We need new caliber of good leaders. Let's watch this special report. Perspectives will be right back.
Families around the world employ the help of maids. to assist in their homes, especially when they have a lot to attend to.
Feli left the Philippines
Maids
for
are professional
Cyprus 5
workers
years ago,
who offer
where
their
she's been
services
working
on
as a
demand
cleaner in
to help
offices
other
and
families
homes.
conduct
But her
their
work
house
and
chores.
salary.
They are employed in homes where people are not able to work themselves or do not have enough time for it. But sometimes understanding and getting along with the maids can be tough due to difference in personalities as well as expectations. Also, there could be the issue of communication, where some maids who are not exposed don't understand a certain language, and this can be a problem. As much as maids play a role in assisting families, their wages generally are found to be quite low and working conditions not very ideal. They come from a low social status. The professions they take do not offer them prolific prospects of advancement. However, people have different experiences hiring maids. Employers sometimes complain about maids forgetting their tasks or not completing them to perfection, while some have problems with the maids getting too familiar with their family members. This brings up the need to set boundaries with your maid. Even though they might be part of your household, but at the end of the day, you are the employer and they are your employee. If it seems they are prying too much into your personal life, be sure to talk to them about it and that they should respect personal matters. It's good to be friendly with your maid, but being too friendly in some cases can cause problems. At the end of the day, to find a balance when dealing with the maid is very important. But what are those signs to look out for when hiring a domestic help?
You know, the interesting thing about this thing is that, whether we like it or not, most families cannot afford not to have a maid. And sometimes you're literally at their mercy. But I also think, to a certain extent, that you have to have a connection with your maid, especially if you have young kids, because they're going to represent you whilst you're not there. So no matter how much they annoy you, or no matter how much you want to correct them, you must always put that into consideration. Because I've heard horror stories. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a few clips where the maid is either maltreating the child or beating the child, and the child cannot talk. You know, that, I mean, just, you know, sends chills down one's spine when you imagine how, you know, vulnerable you are. And unfortunately, a lot of career women don't get home until about 7 or 8 in the evening. By that time, it's just the children are just about getting to bed. So one has to find a balance of some sort.
And I think also sometimes these domestic workers, the maids, are overworked.
Yeah,
so
well,
there's very minimal division of labor. There are maids that they'll tell them to wake up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. They work round the clock. Some of them don't go back to bed till 1 a.m. And they are tired. And you now go to work at 8, and you now leave your children in the hands of these people who are tired, who are missing their family, who are going through mental issues.
Let's
You just don't know.
Let's not even go down to physical abuse. I don't know if you saw one where the woman had poured hot water. I mean, this girl was like all of 12 years old.
On who?
On the maid. The madam had poured hot water on the maid. Another one where the madam had beaten her to a pulp. She had belt welts all over her body. And then let's not even talk about the one where the maid is sexually abused by sometimes even the father and the sons. So there's so many harrowing.
They are misused a lot of times.
Yeah, even going abroad doesn't even help sometimes. I mean, when you hear some stories of what they also go through when they go to places like, you know, a lot of these Eastern countries.
Especially places with racism.
Yes, exactly.
Brutalized.
So it's a catch-22. I think there should be a law put in place in their favor to protect them. At the same time, too, I also think even as employees or employers, we too also have to find a balance between treating them as part of the family and yet drawing a line somewhere.
I think that's the beautiful part, being able to treat them as part of the family. These are people helping you raise your children. How delicate is that? How important is that? They're living in your homes, feed them well. There are people that will tell them, eat my crumbs, don't touch my fridge. It's when I'm done eating that you can now eat. I don't know why you would treat another human being that is taking care of your children like that.
That's so paramount.
Give them good food. Give them their own space. Give them their privacy. Give them
what about the ones that not get too familiar? That's
pay them well.
Even if you pay them well, there's some maids that are natural thieves. There's some maids that, I'm not saying all, we can't paint everybody in the same brush.
So then hire the right people.
Yes, but there are the pluses and the minuses.
Well. If they're stealing, let them go. But be very careful in who you bring into your home. But if you bring them in, please treat them well. They are human beings.
No, I don't think, if we had to do a ratio, I think at least 70 or 80% of women especially treat their maids well because they understand the role that they're playing in the house. And if the maid is not happy, she's going to take it out on your kids.
Right.
One way or the other. Do you understand? But there's also the 10 or 20% of them who are just exploiters. I even hear that there's a clan, I don't know what an organization or whatever, where the maids go out to steal and destroy.
Yes,
they are sent.
The agents send
Yes,
them.
exactly. They are sent to go and steal and destroy.
yes.
Do you understand? Take as much as they can. Use so you see people post pictures. This person, so and so person came to my house. They see videos of them stealing jewelry and what have you. Some of them are sent by agents. Some of them are sent purposely for that. They've been harrowing stories too of staff that have killed their bosses. A young lady in Lekki some time back died. She was killed. Another one was killed and buried in the Sockaway for days.
No.
So they're harrowing stories because you are really bringing strangers into your home. All you can do is pray and hope.
Just last year, a Rwandan, the maid strangulated the child, and this led to an application.
How old was the child?
I don't know, but definitely a child less than 5. And so they had to create an application whereby if you're hiring a maid or letting them go, you register them there. You must be able to see their details, the references, and just be sure that you're hiring someone that somebody else is saying, okay, I vet this person, they are good, they are of good ethics. Because
even those agencies too also have to be approved.
I agree.
Do you understand? It's not just open an agency and start database. Yes, they should be approved by the government. There should be a law put in place that you have to get to a certain parameter before you can become an agency, so that even when anything happens or God forbid things now happen, you can hold that agency ransom and legally pursue whatever claim you want to make, because sometimes some of these agencies are just ramshackle ones. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, what we hope is that we can get the best out of the people that we employ.
Absolutely.
And not have to experience the harrowing stories that some of which we're going to discuss today. Anyway, we're heading for a short break, but stay with us because when we return, we shall be getting to meet with our distinguished guests, Ifeyinwa Useh and Adeniyi Adekunle. Perspectives will return in just a moment. Welcome back to Perspective here on Arise News.
Now moving on to our special guest. Ifeyinwa Useh is a trauma care specialist, a certified counselor and family life practitioner with over 10 years of experience in counseling in family life. She is currently an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. Ifeyinwa is a sought-after counselor for the support she gives her clients as they journey through recovery and wholesomeness.
And Adeniyi Adekunle is a trainer, consultant, and facilitator who has worked with organizations like Chapel Hill Limited, the Bureau of Public Service Reforms, Lagos State Technical and Vocational Education Board, to mention a few. He hosts the TV program Relationship and Life. He has also authored a number of books like Before You Say I Do, and is the co-author of the entrepreneurial seminal book Even Here, Even Now, which has received many accolades both here and abroad. He is also a certified marriage and family and relationship educator with a master's degrees in leadership. So, good to have you here, guys.
Thank you.
You were first complaining that only you amongst 3 women. Are you not? You should be man enough to handle us now.
Amen.
We are not sharks.
Yes, I hope so.
Are we?
At all, we can't
Let's go.
Let's go, yeah?
We're all talk, no bites.
She says you're all talk, no bite.
I hope so.
We are all talk, no
Okay,
bites.
we are all talk, no bite. Okay, that makes sense. Anyway, let's start with you first. I usually start with the man, but this time I want to start with you, Ifeyinwa. I've realized that with maids and housemates in the home, they are like an added extension. You want to treat them like family. But sometimes, not just maids, even with staff, we as couples or people, bosses, employers don't sometimes know where to draw the line. Do you understand? Especially when you're in the car talking on the phone and you're complaining about your husband, or your maid is somewhere and you're complaining about your husband, or complaining about money, or complaining about, these are informations that sometimes you shouldn't really, I don't think that you should let your maids know. They're not invisible. They are human beings and they are assimilating everything that you're telling them. So is this another area that people should be very wary of, talking in public and giving out personal information? How can they cope that?
Well, the first thing, I'm a family life practitioner, so we're very intentional about building your family. And for anything you want to be successful at, intentionality is key, and the family is one of that. Family, we call it family systems engineering. Running your family is a system. A system is about different parts working together for one purpose, following a set of rules. So what do you want to achieve in your home? That should always be the start. And if you haven't done it already, it's never too late to start. What do you want to achieve in your home? What kind of home are you building? What kind of home do you have? Are you at home? Are you your husband at home? What are you trying to achieve? That will let you know how far your helps, whatever domestic stuff you have, will come into your family space and how best you're able to manage it. So for a home where the mother is present at home, the intrusion of the maid can be minimalized and should be minimalized because they're offering a help, but you're also there to buffer, versus a situation where in the home both parents are not there and there's no maybe grandma or aunt that is there.
Extended relative.
Yeah, so that determines how you engage your helps, or that should determine how helps and domestic staff are engaged, and then that will lead you to success. You need to be careful about what you say and do, and it depends on how your life is as well. So I think that for every family, the dynamics are different, and you'd engage based on how your family is.
Yeah, but what about when you and your spouse are not talking, for instance? Maybe he has really upset you or she has really upset him.
For example,
how do you draw a line?
Yes, so for example, when we go with the driver in the car, sometimes I go to pick my friend and she's like, why did you call me? Why are you driving? I'm like, so we can talk. So we can gist.
Okay.
You know, I'm very conscious of it. Some people are, some people are not. Some people don't care. You'll be nudging them. They'll say, hey, let him hear. What do we do with the information? You know, some people don't care, which may or may not affect them negatively. You know, some people are more private. My husband is very private, for example. So even something that may not matter to me, I would, tone it down because I know it will matter to him. So I think it's very important to filter the information that you get out there for anybody, even your friends.
Too, I think plays a role there. It's
very important to do that, and that will help curbing whether it's over familiarity or them crossing bounds and all that. Those things are very important.
That's good.
In order to bring in our second guest today,
man
our
of the
special
house.
guest, the man of the house, there's a fine line between trust. A house help going into a new home doesn't know these people from anywhere, shape, or form. It could have been an agent that introduced her to the job, but they are strangers to her. And then from the employer side, you bring in someone into your home. There are some good employers out there that will give this house help, domestic worker, everything they possibly can, and actually give them access to their personal bedrooms. And at the end of the day, they end up being burnt. There's theft, there's damage, there's child abuse, negligence. For someone that you were taking care of, for someone you trusted, where do we draw that line in trusting the people we go and work for, or the people we are hiring to come and work for us?
Well, I think it's like any case of recruitment, if I can use that language. There's that risk, whether it's in the home space, whether it's the workspace. But the home space is slightly different because this is where you live, this is where your family is and all that, So some checks you need to make from the beginning, myself and Ifeyinwa we're talking back in the green room.
Okay.
And this is your home. Your spouse is there, probably your kids are there, everything is there. You need to know where the person is coming from. Let me use my house as an example. When we don't have living house helps again, we have someone that comes
Really?
in.
Why?
Our kids are...
Okay, your kids are grown now.
Yeah, so
okay.
just my wife and I at home.
Oh, okay.
But when we had that, it was my wife's responsibility to deal with, and we had just about one or two places we got them from. So we knew the person who was bringing this person in, and had some form of forms to fill, people that and all that. But believe me, that's not enough. You need to let the person know they are human beings.
Yes.
They might not have the same. They might not have the same background with you. You just want to, beside all the stories they put on the paper, because they could just make that up. You want to have some things about them. Oh, do you have a family? Do you have this? Do you have that? And you want to know those people. Because the moment you know those people and you treat them nice, it doesn't mean they will always be good. It just means that you are building another level of buffer, security check to handle that. Then understand that within that home space, it must be clear what they are there to do. They are there to help you, not to run your home. They need to be clear who is in charge.
Yeah, but those lines are usually sometimes blurred.
But you need to discuss it.
Division of
You need
labor.
to discuss
They're sometimes
it.
blurred, especially when the woman is, doesn't have that much time.
Yeah, you need, but you,
Later,
you still need to
I know
discuss
that,
it.
but sometimes
Where are the boundaries?
Yeah.
What are you supposed to do? Well, if
Exactly.
there are kids, where are the boundary with the kids? If there's food involved, if you have to take the kids school somewhere in the neighborhood, you have to pick them, or if you have to follow the law, you need to
Establish the work
you
expectation.
need to declare the boundaries. So in our case, usually if I feel the house help has done something wrong, I usually will not confront her myself. I'll
Okay,
tell my
tell
wife,
madam.
she knows how to deal with that. So it needs to be clear from the beginning where we draw this line. Another thing is that treating them like human beings, you can overemphasize that. So I told my wife, I
yes,
said,
of
listen,
course.
the most important thing in this house are not our valuables, jewelries, this and this and that. They are the kids. You leave them with these kids. And you must help them understand that, they are the most important things in this house. Treat them well, and you let them understand you. If I will tell them that, listen, your primary reason here is actually to do this and this and this. These other ones, and you need to keep reminding yourself that during the introduction, you were talking about the fact that sometimes we overwork these folks. They're human beings too.
Yes.
So you need to also draw the boundaries for yourself. How far do you go with them? When do you need to stop and all those things? Again, in reality, all this doesn't guarantee that the
Exactly.
person
I was just going to say that.
it doesn't guarantee
yes.
that, but you just need to put these checks in place. The society is changing. You just need, and I tell people, so we have people that have house helps today, and believe me, I know that it's slightly more challenging today than back then when we have house help. I see people today
Why
that
so?
they beat, we didn't have CCTVs.
Yeah.
But I don't blame people that put CCTVs in their home today because there seems to be a racket now. People work together, even when you get them from established companies. But drawing the lines, you just want to be sure on your own end you've checked all the boxes,
Ticks off the boxes.
and that's it.
Yeah, but what about when they tick so many boxes, but they have one or two particular flaws? I know someone who said that her house help has light fingers. In other words, steals every now and
Steals,
again. But she is so good at other aspects of running the home. So for her, to her, it's like, look, just to lose the odds, little things here and there. And I'm like, but that's a bit unsafe because the more that she steals and knows that she can get away with it, the worse it will now become. And I've seen instances where a maid was sacked and the people that came to pick her up came in a jeep. The cook came in a jeep amongst other people. And it was like, people like this. So you hear horror stories of where that is their sole purpose. On the other hand, it's not good, obviously, to treat them as if they're not human beings. But there are also those who come there for a purpose. Whether it takes them 1 year, whether it takes them 6 months, to steal or whatever it is that they want to accumulate from you. So because we're not perfect as human beings, my question now will be, okay, so where do you now draw the line? Is it when she steals 100 naira, or when she steals 5,000 naira, or when she steals a pair of shoes, or when she steals a frying pan? Are you going to now sack the person because the person steals, even though the person is good in so many other areas?
I think it
Ifeyinwa.
comes down
Yes.
to...
So it goes back to what I said before. What do you want and what do you want to achieve? You can't steal from my mom, for example. My mom can look for Africa. In fact, my mom came to my house and she was like, I don't think I'm the one that gave birth to you, because my room was open, my list was open. She was like, she says, don't tempt the Lord your God. That's her own. Don't tempt them. Don't put something where they will see it. So she doesn't even know whether you steal, because you will not see something.
Okay, what about when they
steal.
increase prices of stuff,
So-
for instance? If something costs them 20 naira, because you don't go to the markets, and they tell you it's 40 naira, or
So you
1,000, they tell you it's 5,000.
If it was me, I will factor that in, because
Yeah, but would
if
you
don't
not
want to
sack
be-
the staff
if
because of that?
No,
I think she's
can't.
saying if they are lying to you about the price, maybe
Yeah,
That's what
what
I'm
I'm saying.
saying.
5,000 is
So
okay.
if something is 200 naira and you've been giving her 200 naira and it's now 150, and she doesn't come back and say to you, it's part of the what
Nothing
you're
ever
going to do.
decreases in Nigeria. That's not a
I'm
good
just
example.
saying,
Nothing ever
that
decreases
there's
in
a reason
Nigeria.
why you were giving her 200
Yeah,
and you probably
yeah.
think that's the price and it's less than that. There are some things that you would never get totally because you're not the one doing it. Even if something was 200 and you went yourself, you'll probably get it for 150 because you would bargain. The other person doesn't care. They'll either use that your 200 or they would bargain and get it and tell you. In fact, I had someone in my shop that said I wanted to sell something at 3,500. She told the person 5,000. The person bought it. She kept my 3,500 for me. When I was like, she said, I did not steal your money. You say you want 3,500.
Let's not deviate. My point is that if she increases prices, or you know, there's some even drivers, you go and buy petrol, or you send them a message, your change, I mean, as petty as it sounds, your change is probably 150 or 200 or whatever. They keep it.
Yeah.
And those little things makes you wonder, given the opportunity, will you take more?
So don't give them the opportunity for more. So you check. Like I said, there's some people that you can't afford your maid to go tomorrow because the replacement time is usually quite maybe a week, 3 days, and you can't afford that. So you lock up, you tighten security, you do other things that may. So it depends on the extent. If we're talking of change here. So
in other words, be a bit, you can accommodate.
You need to be adaptable and flexible
because they are human.
You need to be adaptable and flexible. And exactly. Sometimes they feel that you don't need this 150. What will 150 do for madam? She's thinking, I must take this madam's money. That's not probably what's in her mind. So it really depends. But I think that once you're not doing anything yourself, you need to give some.
That's what I'm saying.
I can come in there a bit. Allowances. I'm very big on job descriptions, like spelt out the timing of your work, when you wake up, just letting you know exactly how we work. Because I'm not the type that would tell, this is how you need to do it and be talking every single day, but I let us be on the same page. And in your job description, stealing is not part of it.
Well, it's not. From the get-go, nobody's saying that it is. Yeah. We're just saying, for instance, just like you don't bring back change, it's still stealing. Yeah. Even if the change is 100 naira, the fact that you didn't bring it back.
That won't be acceptable.
So the question is this: if your child was doing that, what will you do? Can your child?
I would discipline my child. Good. Yes, I'm not saying that you shouldn't discipline the
I think you need to call it out. It might not stop immediately, but to just wave it off.
No, I'm not even saying. Don't get me wrong. I never said.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you said that.
I'm just saying that if the person is so efficient in every other aspect,
so revisit the job description.
You just
mentor, train.
This person is coming to your house. Like I said, you need to train them.
Yeah,
you can't overlook it.
I don't know whether some companies do that, but this is your own space, the uniqueness. Like Ifeyinwa said, it's a different family. No matter where they were working before, even if they were working with your next door neighbor, it's your family space. You need to train them. They need to know what the rules are. They need to know what the boundaries are. They would miss it sometimes. You correct it because you don't expect them to. Even after you've done it, they can't get everything right because they can't get them right. So you need to ask yourself, what are the lines that you cross this one is finished?
Right.
I'm glad you said train, because that now means, like Olatorera was saying, that you are saying if they steal is not part of it, because you can train them to stop stealing. You can train them to stop certain excesses that they have. Because sometimes I feel that having a maid is like a relationship, which is why it's very heartbreaking sometimes when you have to sack them. Because they've gotten into your system, they now know your home, then you now start to somebody else, somebody new, you have to start training. Do you understand?
Yeah. So in the job description, that includes that. The chances they get in the job description, in the training, that includes all of that.
I know, but what he was just saying is that sometimes when they have these flaws, you can train them.
Absolutely.
To, give them. I'm not saying train for 5 years, but obviously maybe the first 2 or 3 months, because every house has every household have their own rules and what have you. Now, another thing which I also realized, we've all heard these stories, which we'll probably use after the break, but the big question in the room is sometimes some of these maids take undue advantage, especially when it comes to their madam's bosses. No, seriously. I've heard harrowing stories of men indulging in these acts. Sometimes it's the maid's fault, sometimes it's the man's fault.
What do you mean by take advantage? Speak English.
Sexually?
Well, we're on air.
What does it mean?
The maid
is now taking advantage of the man.
Transferred her services to the other room.
She's helping you there too.
Okay.
She's helping you there too. But you see, in this kind of situation, where it can be the man that is taking advantage of the maid, or the maid herself is using her feminine wiles to exploit the situation, because maybe, as we said before, when madam and husband have issues, and maybe because of that, you're not doing your conjugal rights anymore and what have you. And then it's also the case where the woman is too busy. Men are very primary with their needs, as I'm sure you know. It doesn't take much to please
Go
you.
on.
No, it's true. We are more complex. We have about 20 or 30 things going on. You are black and white.
Do you hear how I said really?
Well, most. I'm assuming. Am I far off the mark?
I think it's. Let's not generalize.
No, men are not as complicated as women. That one you can't take that away from
What?
me. Men are not as complicated
as women.
as women. I don't think so.
There's some complicated women, no.
No, because they're not. You can be sleeping with drivers now. Have you ever heard of Madam sleeping with drivers? I mean, if that's the case.
So you see, what makes a woman sleep with a man can be different from what makes a man sleep with a woman.
Exactly.
So a woman is, for you, sex is the end of something. It comes from all the emotional and every other thing.
Exactly.
But for the man, it's a bit more detached.
That's what I'm saying, that we're different. We're wired differently.
Yeah. But what I would say to that, there are so many things. First and foremost, if you put 10 men in the room, and this is me thinking, I'm not a man, I don't think more than 2 will be even a man that is giving to philandering, a lot of them are not giving to.
No, finish that equation first. I want to hear.
If you put 10 men in a
It's
room.
not tested, no, it's not research.
No,
I'm just
I want to
saying,
hear what your equation is.
So if like 8 out of 10 will probably not sleep with their maid, even if they have the opportunity to sleep with somebody, or with their maid, because they don't want to go, let's just say, go that low, right? So even a man that is giving to philandering will philander with girls that he feels maybe are on his level of status, but not go that way.
Okay, so it's not as if they don't. They philander, but they they take it out of the home.
But they don't. Not even because
No,
it's out of the
I'm saying
home.
that because
it's not
of
just
the
out of the home, but also where they
Bring it
have
on.
a place
I don't
the
have a problem.
status of the person, and so they feel it's degrading. They feel it's insulting. So even
Yes.
a man, you find some men that the maid is actively trying to show as he's like, "What's wrong with you? They crazy? Are you mad?" You understand? There's some that wouldn't fall. Some the girl will do he will tap. You understand?
I've heard horror
so there are
stories, though.
different
I've heard
types
horror
of
stories.
men, but I think that a lot of times, if you have 10, maybe 2.
I mean, I have to share this
that's
story
where
with
that
you.
statistic
No, I have
came
to
from,
share
but
this
it's not
story with
tested,
you.
though, like
And it's
I
just
said.
about the man that resisted. It was raining heavily, right? Like you said, she is not involved in hiring maids and what have you. But you know these young maids now, very supple, everything is in place. Cha. They are young, they're in their 20s, nothing has fallen apart yet. And it was raining heavily this night, and the wife had traveled, the children were abroad. He said he now heard somebody knocking. They live in a bungalow, banging on the door, banging. And he couldn't figure out what it was. And then the next thing he saw his phone ringing, it was the maid. Opens the door, like a movie, like a Nigerian movie, soaked to the tea, and shivering and said, Oga, I'm scared of thunder, I want to sleep inside. Can I sleep in your parlor? He said he thought to himself, I mean, if he does this, do you understand, who is he embarrassing? Himself more than the maid. How is he going to be able to look at her tomorrow? And he told her to go back to her room and called his wife immediately and said, look, this is what your maid has just done. I'm going to fire her before you get back. Now that's a man that turned it down. But you've also heard of instances where, because the man is sleeping with the maid, there's a friction between maid and madam. You now call 2 of them to come and judge matter.
So what causes some men to sleep with the maid?
Because as you rightly said, some men just have very low resistance or very low willpower, and the maid is more submissive. Especially if you have a wife that is hardworking, that is vocal, that can, exchange banter with you, give you as good as you get. This is a maid who is serving him his food, who irons his shirt, who doesn't ask questions, and who, quite frankly, makes him feel like a king. It's a harrowing thought, but it exists.
Okay, so it's a power dynamic.
Yeah, there's power dynamic, and there's also the fact that the man is too lazy to go outside.
So that's what I was going to get into. There are different reasons why this can happen. Number 1, there is a maid that is coming onto the man because of whatever. Maybe whether they sent her from the place where she was coming from, or
the agency.
or whether she feels that this will give me a better standing, And but there's also there's the man that wants to take advantage of her.
Yes.
So
It's
an easy access for him. He doesn't have to hide around. He doesn't have to give her too much money.
The way you are saying, I don't like it.
He doesn't have to give her too much money. He doesn't have to.
The way you read
small warning.
As if I don't quite agree.
No, I'm listening.
Small warning, So he's taking advantage. He wants another woman. He feels his wife is not doing whatever it is that he feels she should be
And then
doing,
it's not the person
which
that
I don't
cleans the house
support
that will
too.
give him that.
But no, so that is an easy way out. So that man is actually a predator. Because
Yeah,
you're
you can call it a
Right,
predator,
I can
yes.
see
yeah,
that
because you're
way.
taking
Yes,
advantage of somebody that she
Right.
can't fight back. She can't. You shut up. Come on, lie down there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's
So
true.
sometimes they take advantage of them. Then you don't give much. You might settle
Right.
her, or you take, or you're gonna buy something, or you might
Sometimes
not
it's just
even.
the
You can
basic
almost even
salary.
liken this to
Sometimes
child
you
abuse.
wouldn't even. So there's abuse in it. And for that to happen, there's, to me, in fact, in every case where a man is going after the maid in the house, there's some problem somewhere. It's to
Where a man is what?
X-ray Where the
Going
man
after the
is
maid.
going after the maid in the house. There's a problem somewhere.
On whose part?
On the man.
Well,
If the
Yes.
man is going after the
Yes.
maid, there is a problem. as far
Especially
as
a
I'm
much
concerned.
younger maid.
They're usually much younger. How many maids are the
and sometimes
age of
even
the wife?
worse, the man and the son. I've heard of an instance, it was in the news, where the girl, she died.
Those ones are serial
She was so
predators
sexually
now.
mutilated by the father and the father's son. And
Okay.
the mother of the house
That's
did
story.
nothing. In fact, they would sleep with her, beat her up, sometimes not feed her. She died.
And the mother knew this.
The mother, oh please, let's not even go down there. What about mothers that even know that their husbands sleep with their daughters?
Very good. See, we are going somewhere.
You know what I mean?
And
If
you
we even
see-
have to go down that
So
road.
that's why. So at the root of it, there's some issue. There's something going on.
Okay.
And this
But-
needs to be X-rayed.
We are going
to
on a
find
break
out.
now, and then we'll discuss even further on this issue. So, Perspectives will be right back. Don't go anywhere. There's still more coming from us. Anyway, during the break, Pastor Oniru, you know I said it was you I was going to attack first because I want you are the man in this matter.
Okay.
You're the father of you are the
I
man
will
of the
attack
house.
you back.
On this table.
And I said I will attack you back. with the guns.
Okay, now, but I have two strong guards beside
I'm
me.
used to it. My home is like this. Wife and 2 daughters. I'm used to it.
Now, there was a pertinent question I've always wanted to ask when it comes to this man and maid sleeping together. We've obviously given instances of where sometimes it's a man that takes undue advantage or it's a maid that takes undue advantage. Now, what I want to know is that what does a woman do when this happens to her? Especially if it has happened more than once.
Okay.
And then don't forget, please, before you go further, she has 2 young girls, so she can't employ a man in the house. Okay, so what does she now do in this kind of situation?
So it's happened a number of times. Women, I understand that you people have like the sixth sense. You
instinct,
know
yes.
things. So is this man like this, or something is wrong, and it became like this? So if it's like this and he showed the tendencies before you got married and all that, that's a different case. But if there's something that made him like this, you want to know what the trigger is and see if we can address that. That's one. Now, second thing, the woman wants to ask herself, which when there are issues in the family, I usually tell people, forget about the external factors. The man and the woman should look at themselves, because if both of you are on the same page, 80% of the problem is solved. You know, forget about all the external issues. So, is the woman doing something that is making the man do that? That's one.
Like
That
what?
No, listen, please, let you know. Or is
I'm
the
already getting
house?
defensive.
Yeah, don't get defensive. Is the house help? Is there something the house help is saying between them that she's taking advantage
Okay,
of?
that's true.
Those are things you need to, and we don't need to get emotional about. These are real situations that happen. Now, if that is the case, and you want to deal with it, I think Ifeyinwa said, "Are you willing to deal with it?" Because the first thing is the willingness.
Who is the woman willing
woman.
to do with it? Is
No,
that what
both
you're
of you, but you can't do it alone.
The
Both of you
man.
must be working to deal. You must be willing to deal with it. Number one, the woman is on the receiving side now.
Yes.
But is the man willing to commit? Now, if he's willing to commit, good. If he's not,
After the act, you're
yes,
saying how
after
they
the
meant
act.
first.
Now, mind you,
Okay.
now we're talking about series of acts now. So, is he willing? Is there something he's talking about? Because the fact that I say, I'm sorry, I'm changing, forget it. I'm a man. It's not that simple. You need to understand what is causing this. Can we openly discuss it? If there's a problem with me as a man, then let's discuss it. Then maybe I need help. If I think there's something you are doing as a man, now whether I'm right or wrong is a different thing entirely, but let's discuss everything on the table and get help. Africans don't like getting help. Oh, it's a family problem. I hear people say that, no, don't take a family issue secret advice. It will get out one day. So the earlier you nip it at the bud, the better. If you need to get professional help, if you need psychological help, you need to get spiritual help, whatever it is, get some help. Now, if the man is not willing to change, you have called me a pastor, that is a dangerous one. Leave. You need your sanity. I didn't say divorce. pack your things, move out to your father's house, move out to your uncle's house, move out to your friend's house. Get a place you can get your sanity. And while they are discussing, then he needs to make a decision. Does he want you back on the right, or does he want to stay with the house up? He needs to make his decision.
Can I ask a question? Because I know that a lot of men that I talk to don't like weave on, fake nails. They tell you that they even prefer it when your hair is woven to the back, when you just look more natural. That all these long nails, fake bra, fake everything, do you understand? Yeah. Turns them off. And which is why when they see housemates, I mean, I've actually, sat down with a lot of male friends, and that housemates are more natural. They have natural hair, everything about them is natural, and that appeals to the, I don't know whether to use traditional aspects.
My wife will call it Ofi wife.
Ofi what?
Ofi wife.
What's Ofi?
You don't know what they call Ofi. In Yoruba language, they call it the traditional wear.
Okay.
That means she's very submissive. She's not natural.
Exactly.
Like they brought her fresh from the village.
So sometimes I wonder, do you understand, whether this is not a man's way of rebelling against what society condones, that the woman is too glamorous, she's too into her hair, she's too whatever. I'm not justifying it.
It's a simple thing of
I'm just saying that, can this be another reason why these men do this?
Whatever it is, just self-control. They're not disciplined.
But there's a good point there, though.
No,
is there an attraction
listen,
to younger maids who are natural?
Some people don't even want attractive maids.
This is why we're talking about.
They go for old women.
This is what we're talking about.
Just to avoid this.
This is what we are talking about, the conversations. We need to talk.
Yeah, the man is not going to tell you, oh, I don't like your hair is too glamorous.
So why won't you talk about it?
I would find that to be...
But how many women carry natural hair? Most women like that to be,
if that is what you want, that is what is attracting you. Why did you not marry that? Okay, are you ready to take this maid on as your wife now? They don't want.
No, they don't want to.
They just want that sweet thing.
Men have complained about
Ruth.
Women not
they are
too
deceiving
real.
themselves. I mean, man, it's self-deception. It's self-deception.
Yeah, but can't if I say that's what I like as a husband, can't you do it for me as your wife? That's my wife.
Then that's why
likewise
I said,
the other way around.
That's why I said she said something very important. If that's so this is why people can marry for 40 years and they are getting a divorce or separating after, because you must keep changing.
Okay.
You keep changing.
Okay, you grow.
Yeah, you keep talking, and that's why relationships shouldn't be static. You are evolving, you are changing, you are talking. So the kids, you have no kids. There's a way you relate. The kids come, there's a way you relate. Now the kids are becoming teenagers, there's a way you relate. So myself and my wife now, both of us in the house. Some people say, how are you guys living? We live. Some people can't, you just find out that when you start having kids, all you're talking about school fees, house rent, this. Yeah. So the kids are gone. You have nothing to say again.
Yes, I've heard people complain about that. They have nothing common.
Then you now begin to talk about, it's the hair. Forget about that.
No, but I think physical attraction still matters to a certain extent.
Excuse me, if it's not the house help, somebody you are seeing
No, I'm not even justifying the house girl bit. I'm just saying,
I'm not saying
if your husband doesn't like certain things about you,
talk about it.
No, but are you prepared to do it?
Why not?
Why not?
Okay, well, as long as it works both ways.
If the man says he likes the natural look, I mean, there's no man, at least anytime you see this makeup.
Yeah, they don't like makeup.
When they were doing it for me, I told the girl, I was like, so do you use primer? I said, I don't do makeup. Is this...
But women love makeup.
So some do, and their husbands...
A lot of men don't.
But the men like you like that when you're going out. They like you dressed well when you're going out. They like you packaged when you're going out. But when you come home, they also like... A lot of... Is it true? They like you when you now come home.
Yeah, now that
I think they are fine with that. They also like... I know a man that told me that he wants to marry a girl that looks as if she came out of Vogue magazine. It's the man that told me.
Different taste.
That's it. So I think it's... but I mean, it shouldn't be hard if a man... like you said, it's conversation. If you know that this is what your husband likes and he makes his request, he's not lauding it. He's like, this is what I really like your hair when it's like this. If a man tells you, I really like your hair when it's like this, he doesn't have to force you. You will do it. You may not do it all the time. Every now and again, you will do it, just so that he would like it. But if they say, you're always doing your hair, you might not respond easily. If the man is saying, anytime your hair is over, I really like your hair when it's like this.
Your hair is really nice.
Yeah, but like Niyi said,
you will find yourself doing it more.
Yes, like Niyi said, that couples should talk between themselves and come to an agreement as to what happened, what went wrong, whatever. Now, I think also the woman too should take extra precautionary measures. You see that some women will tell you they don't want a maid who is too attractive. They would rather somebody who is a bit elderly because they don't want to tempt their husbands. I've known of instances where some maids, even when the maids come for interview, they quickly tell the maid to go before the man comes into the house. Because as much as you cannot blame the maids or blame the man, you don't also want to tempt nature because of how some men are. Do you understand? So I'm wondering whether that's also is another prerequisite, extra step that you would take, a woman should take as a mother whose husband has committed such crimes, even though they've apologized, they've reconciled and whatever, not to bring maids who are too
good
Yeah,
looking.
so when you were saying that, that's what came to my mind. A woman that is saying that already knows something about her husband. He should know something about how he would react when he sees a pretty girl. There's some men that are given to, you know. So I think that's part. But yes, you should.
So keep
somebody
the
that
maids
is in that that situation needs to take extra checks and balances. Maybe they've talked about it. The man has said he's not doing it again and all that. So the next time you're getting a maid, you still need to take such things into consideration. But I'm not saying that everybody will now, all the fine maids now will not have work.
No, they will have work. They will have work because, like you said,
everybody cannot be ugly.
If the ratio is anything to go by, you said 2 out of 10, even though it should really be 1 out of 10 if possible.
It should be 0.
I'm so happy to have you guys here. We're so happy to have hosted you today. I wish we had much more time to discuss this pertinent issue. Nini, I'm going to be calling you. I think I need some key advice. Thank you so much, Ifeyinwa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being our host.
Thank you.
Truth is, you can't have all the answers when it comes to running a home, or when it comes to making sure that you get the good maid, the right staff that you want. But life is always a learning curve. You have to be just more vigilant and more careful when selecting who you want to work under your roof. And by God's grace, with plenty of prayers too, you would not be exposed to the horror stories that we have exchanged today. We look forward to seeing you again. And remember, like I said before, life is a learning curve. Thanks for being with us. My name is Ruth Osime.
And I'm Olatorera Oniru. The importance of humane love and humane leadership cannot be overemphasized, as told in our examples of domestic employment cases today. As we journey to the polls across Nigeria in a few weeks, I'm hopeful that citizens will take the critical time to employ the most humane candidates. The key to greater Nigeria is in the hands of every Nigerian. We are the employers of leadership. Thank you so much for watching Perspectives. See you next weekend. Goodbye.